Today, we just hit 100,000 subscribers!
And James wasn't here.
Wait, this is ChillPoint.
Right, yeah, introduce the show.
Wait, we had 100,001 followers. One of those followers just left, so we're back down to 100,000.
That's okay, that's all I needed.
Yeah.
I just needed the number to go up.
Sorry, yes. I totally said subscribers at the beginning, didn't I?
Yes.
Well, darn it.
Which also would be amazing.
That would be nice.
But I'm good with follower number.
Oh, and now it's back up to 101. Okay.
There we go. Okay. Where are we?
100,001.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. I mean, we were, like, it was going to happen from the PPR, because there's lots of new people that joined there. But getting it before the PPR is even better.
But James is on the PPR, and now we've gotten it while James isn't around, and that just makes me happy.
Yeah. Hey,
so,
everybody.
All kinds of things you can do out of spite.
Welcome to ChillPoint, the show where we talk about the video games news, and also the very important news about how our follower count on the channel is doing.
It's incredibly important because you can't get that news anywhere else, Paul.
It's true. Yeah. We have the exclusive.
On how we're doing?
We have the inside track. We've got the stats that nobody else can get. Our crack. I just want to say, what's so incredibly awesome about our viewers is that since we started this stream, the follower count has gone up by 2, but the subscriber count has gone up by
3
or 4, depending on how you count it.
Yeah.
Which is the one that you have to actually pay for.
Yeah.
So, that's amazing.
It's always good. And subscribers is always a very fluctuating number, depending on what day of the month the thing happens and stuff. Follower counts where it's really at.
So, anyway, hey everybody, welcome to ChillPoint, and we're talking about video game news of the week, and also, of course, the CheckPoint went up last week, or went up yesterday, I should say, which happened a week ago, depending on how you measure your weeks.
You know, some of you I know time slipped here. That's okay.
Thank you.
If you can prove, if you can get a doctor's note stating that you time slipped, we will excuse the fact that you didn't watch the pre-show of CheckPoint.
If you came back
I would like to see who that doctor is.
Yeah. If you came back in time, you picked a really terrible period of time to come back to.
Yeah, you clearly were not a good history student
Yeah.
if you came back in time.
Unless you came back so you could get vaccines while they were still available.
Oh, let's not do that dark timeline horse shit. I'm not here for that.
Anyway, so this week in video game news, this was the end of January and then the beginning of February. And apparently, I didn't know this, but apparently there's some rule in the video game industry that all acquisitions have to happen in the first month of the year.
It has to probably do with when they announce their fiscal year end, where it's like, okay, we got everything done in December, right? Okay, great. Spend everything in January.
But yeah, fiscal year ends like what, end of March?
It's whenever you want it to be.
Okay, well, for Nintendo, I know it's end of March.
Yeah, but not every company will do that.
Assume every other video game company is like Nintendo.
It's like musical chairs or something, right? It's just like anybody who doesn't have a partner by the end of January has to sit out the year.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, we've had all sorts of things. So we had, and so this is the first story that we talked about on CheckPoint, which was started with talking about the acquisition of Bungie by Sony. And then, of course, we've got Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard. We've got the New York Times buying Wordle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, good job to Mr. Wardle.
Yeah.
you just captured that zeitgeist
What
right
if,
at the right time
What if?
with a silly little game that you made for fun.
Yeah.
I love it.
What if all these acquisitions are actually for like a Secret Santa later in December, and they're all gonna swap?
That'd be real.
So the New York
Wait,
Times might maybe
weird.
get spongy, and so
Is this like a white elephant thing
Yeah.
where it's
Yeah.
like, I don't want to get stuck with Activision Blizzard.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting thing that because the Wordle thing, this is a tangent, and I apologize.
Okay.
But we can actually get them going right now. The thing about Wordle, because Wordle took off in popularity, and immediately the clones started hitting, and everyone was mad because they're like, here's this lovely free game that has a nice little story behind it. Dude made it for his wife. And then it got spread around, and then he's like, "Oh, I'll try to maintain it." But boy, it has grown in popularity, and that's awesome because when when you make a thing, you want people to really enjoy it, and you want people to know about it. So, the tangent is people get mad about, oh, everybody has copied this thing out the ass, and they put it up on the App Store, and they're charging for it and doing whatever. Boo, 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 we hate these people who have done this thing, that's awful. Josh Wardle turns around, sells the game to the New York Times for a low 7 figures. And of course we all applaud that because we're like, good for you, you cashed out, you made some money on a very simple thing that's like attacked the zeitgeist and everyone wants to be a part of this thing. That's awesome. It's this weird sense that we have of the person who made the thing originally needs to be able to make bank on it. And then after that, because I was talking about Lordle of the Rings in the story, right? And so then after that, it's like, I have no problem with Lordle of the Rings existing. I have no problem with all of these other little open source offshoots existing, because to me it's like, they're little fun projects that are little spins on the same idea. It's ultimately the same game. And I don't have any problem with that. But when we think about threes and 1024 and 2048 and how that shit all happened, I get real mad about that.
Well, so I think part of it. So to me, the problem with the clones were that they were called Wordle.
Yes.
They were like legitimately
Yeah.
attempting to deceive people.
Because we know Wordle is based on another game mechanic that's basically the same thing.
Yeah,
It's just
like the concept.
nicely-
The concept of the password thing has been around
Yeah.
for decades. Like that's not the. So to me, people copying that part of it, like it doesn't matter.
Right.
That's like and in fact, I mean, you talk about the different clones of it. There's actually a somebody just made like a basically like a toolkit.
Yeah.
Like
It's a JavaScript library. or
on
something,
like
yeah.
GitHub, you can just like download a thing and load in your own word list.
And I know I've seen a couple of people, I think even in Discords and stuff, who are like, oh, that's a great idea to try learning a simple thing to program. And so they're also making kind of a thing, which is great because it's like, what do I put in my dictionary?
Exactly.
Like, how do I make these things work? And simple concepts are great for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're making an app and you put in the word that everyone's going to go looking for,
Yeah, if you're
that's
pretending you
kinda-
are
yeah,
a version of the thing, then that's a different deal.
Yeah.
So I mean, to me, that's the part that is
The part that rankles.
Yeah. Whereas I mean, I don't know whether threes was itself sort of a unique concept. But,
Oh, it definitely was. Actually, Asher had iterated on this idea for all sorts of time, trying to figure out what can I do, how will I make this work. He had all sorts of he posted a ton of screenshots of here's all my work I was doing, trying to figure out how this can work, and all my prototypes. And eventually, we get to threes, and then threes comes out, and as the story goes, somebody saw threes and was like, "That's a really cool idea for a game. I wonder if I can implement that." And they did. They made 1024.
Right.
And then somebody came along and saw 1024 and was like, "That's a really cool idea for a game. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna package it in the thing. I'm gonna change the numbers and call it 2048." And then that 2048 is going to go fucking everywhere, and it's going to be free with ads and all sorts of other stuff. And Asher's like, I'm trying to make $3 a game on this, and you all are going to buy a inferior clone copy thing that doesn't have all the nice little attributes. And
it is inferior, I will point out, because the best part of threes is everyone has a little face, and they make little faces.
I feel better now.
And that is the best part of the game.
Like, I feel better now because Asher managed to sell, well, not really sell threes, but he's managed to put it in Apple Arcade, and so now it's a thing where it's like he's going to get a chunk of income for this thing existing, and Apple clearly recognizes that this is a fun game and people really like it, so let's have it there. But it was that I was trying to figure out, why is it that I feel so one way about what happened with threes, and yet when it comes to people making clones of Wordle now, like not before, I was like, oh, I'm mad that these people are doing that, but now that it's sold for $1 million in the New York Times, I'm like, why am I suddenly okay with people making open source clones of this game? That's really weird. Is it because Josh made the money? Must be.
Well, it's also, but I think it is that it's not like Josh did a ton of research and innovation in making the game itself.
True.
So like that part is not the part that's innovative.
Yeah.
So people copying that is not a problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Ultimately.
Anyway, but yeah. So and then there's also one of the articles, we didn't mention the thing, but one of the articles I was reading was mentioning that Take-Two bought Zynga.
Remember that?
Yep.
Like
We forgot.
Well,
and that happened at the beginning of the year. Like that happened in early January.
Yeah.
And so like that's another giant acquisition. That was that one where it's like, remember Zynga, the guys who do Farmville? They actually make a whole ton of other things.
Yeah.
And they own a bunch of other companies.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's been, I don't know, I feel like there's been like, I don't know, maybe $100 billion in transactions that happened in January between various video game companies.
Yeah.
Constable Crab brought up so Annapurna did a tweet that was like, we have acquired one physical copy of the new Pokemon game. The cost was this much money.
Nice.
That's
in
good.
response to all the things, and
An
it was
acquisition.
a very good acquisition tweet.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, I don't know whether and Sony has actually said that they're not done with acquisitions.
Yeah. So take that as a threat, I guess.
So I mean,
It'd be a shame if something happened to your dev studio over here.
Yeah.
that like couple $100 million offer for CheckPoint, that's still out there.
Yeah.
We were offering it to Microsoft, but Sony could be interesting also.
I mean, yeah, I'd love to be owned by Bungie. It's not as
Do
if
I
most
get-
of us haven't been owned in
do-
Halo one of these times or another.
Do I
so.
get a space gun if I get owned by
Oh
Bungie?
yeah, we all get free
Do I
needlers.
get a cool space gun and maybe a fun
Mr.
dance emote? If I get acquired by Bungie, do I get to suddenly be able to do dance emotes? Because that seems like a level up to me. Like physically, me
Just being
personally.
able to, like,
now I can do all the dances
in
just
your brain,
because. Yeah,
ZR.
They like
select a
upload.
thing
They like
and-
upload that to you.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a
It's
thing I can do
you got to
now.
get the microtransactions.
I know
though.
dance kung fu. Show me.
So yeah, Mr. Dave Bonji,
Oh, that was a good joke.
CEO of Bungie. The picture that I used for that is the actual CEO of Bungie, who is, I forget what his name is.
You know what? I have a better idea, in fact, because we're asking like $100 million for CheckPoint, and that's nice. We don't need that much money. It's just would be wow, the crazy shit we could do with it. But how about this? Because $1 billion has been set aside to do something for all the employees of Bungie to basically help with retention. I did the math. If we assume there's 1,000 employees in Bungie, let's just assume that's what it is. That means that 1,000 million is $1 billion. That means that $1 million US has been earmarked for employee retention. They're going to spend $1 million. So now let's take that one step further. That means that
How much would you like to work at a company that has, in-house CheckPoint?
yes, right,
Bungie could just buy us to like produce like, I don't know,
right.
daily satirical news about Bungie, about like internal office affairs.
And even then, it's like when I think about it, I'm like, if you break that down even further, it's like $100,000 bonus to each employee, from the CEO all the way down to the custodians. $100,000 a year bonus for 10 years is $1 million, right? So then 1,000 of those for 1,000 employees is $1 billion, and I'm like, I like it. Just kind of, I go, I can't.
I feel like
This
that
math is not going to happen.
Yeah, whatever that whatever the info,
It can't be cash.
Yeah, whatever that info is about the like $1 billion for employee retention, I feel like that might be
Overshooting the mark.
Well, that might be not or misinterpreted.
Okay,
what
so,
was
so
happening.
just because you earmark money for a thing, it's a lot like a roadmap in video games. You don't necessarily have to spend that whole budget.
But it's the thing of saying we've got $1 billion and we're going to use it for current employee retention, and the other $2 billion are going to be for staffing up for like new things. I'm like, that's all very well and good, but if you only have like 1,000 employees, then it's like when you actually do the math, it starts to feel like that's a lot of money. So here's my thing: is like if Bungie's just going to drop $1 million signing bonus on everybody who works for the company and say you get $1 million now, but you have to work here for the next 10 years. I'm asking 5 people at Bungie to take their signing bonus or a chunk of their signing bonus, like at 1/5 of your signing bonus, and just send that to Loading Ready Run. That's all I'm asking. Just
okay. All right. Let me get this straight. If the employees are given $1 million
right off the top
for 10 years,
Yep.
you want them to take a portion, 5 of them,
Get into our Patreon.
to put
Don't
that money.
put it in PayPal. I don't even want Patreon to have it at this
Patreon.
point.
You want 5 of them.
Not PayPal either.
5 of them.
Yep.
Who are presumably watching this show, because clearly they all watch this show.
Right.
To give us a good chunk of that signing bonus.
1/5, and that way we want $1 million injection, and it only has to come from 5 employees from your bonuses. I know there's 5 of you out there who are like, what am I going to spend this on? I don't
Okay,
live in San Francisco,
what
so I
are
don't have to buy an apartment.
What are we giving them in return?
We get to continue doing all of this.
We already continue doing all of this without that.
Yeah, but we need everybody who's in the chat to continue giving us money so we can continue doing this
We
too.
could probably I don't know, put their name in the credits or something.
I mean, yeah, we'll make you executive producers for as long as this bonus is active.
No. For the 10 years that you have to stay at Bungie.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
Which basically means we're going to do CheckPoint
you
and
a-
ChillPoint for 10 years.
Give you a Twitch subscription?
mean,
I don't know.
Frankly,
I think we should give them a Twitch subscription if they're going to give us like $1 million.
if you can convince everybody, all your fellow employees at Bungie underneath you, to give a chunk of their money as well, we'll let you keep a piece of it, and then we'll let them keep a piece of the piece that they get from somebody else.
Okay, I don't understand
And
anything
now-
about what Beach is doing, but I'm going to need a note from all of your bosses to actually prove you work at Bungie
Yeah,
for
and
this.
and I believe Beej has just demonstrated how a fun idea turns into a pyramid scheme.
It's a very weird pyramid that you've constructed.
It's the Loading Ready Run logo.
Yeah.
The circle. What we've done is we've taken the triangle
Yeah.
that's at the end of the Loading Ready Run logo, and we've rotated it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's really a 90-degree rotated arrow
So-
scheme.
Yeah.
Okay,
I like to think of this as
question
being,
then.
Maslow's hierarchy of beach.
I have to know now, because Star Trek also has a triangle that is a thing. Is Star Trek a pyramid scheme that I've not known about?
I'm pretty sure there's. I mean,
Is the Federation a pyramid scheme?
the Ferengi have definitely operated at various pyramid schemes.
Are they part of the Federation?
They may not.
I didn't think they were.
No, I don't think the Federation lets them be part of the Federation.
I have a lot of questions about Star Trek in relation to this now.
I'm pretty sure a pyramid scheme is probably like in Ferengi culture, a pyramid scheme is probably like
Business.
sure, that sounds like a
That's
normal
just
thing to
regular
do.
business,
Yeah.
I think.
Anyway, I don't know actually what our conclusion is with all these acquisitions, but it is a thing. And I mean, obviously, the other part of this, of course, is that it's who knows. The really interesting thing about this will be if various government agencies attempt to step in on any of this stuff.
And what if they step in on some but not others?
Right.
And that's
I mean,
what we're going to see for the next 18 months.
like obviously the Microsoft one being the biggest is the one that's sort of, and the word is that there is scrutiny going to be done on that, not unexpectedly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. When you say the conclusion of this, and it's like, we're not going to know the conclusion of this first the deals have to actually close. So there's like the conclusion of the deals happening. then there's what kind of impact does this have is also not a thing we get to really see as consumers for a few years, because contracts have to end and then you get exclusives and then stuff gets rearranged. And we're really not going to know how all that falls out. And then if we want to go for like behind the scenes stories, if there's anything of interest there, we're not going to hear about that for years past that as well.
And
probably.
And of course, the take that I think you guys talked about it in the after show, that like how long before Bungie celebrates buying their freedom once again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe they just need that kind of pressure.
It's the yeah.
I mean, have you ever?
They're just like they're like that person who just like always wants to be in a relationship. But then but then
Like
exactly.
he needs to date themselves for a while, I think.
They're in a relationship. They don't like it. They want to go single for a little while. It's great, but it's kind of lonely. They jump back in.
and they realize they want somebody else around.
Maybe they jump back in too fast.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with serial monogamy ultimately, if they know that that's what's right for you. But and besides, I mean, Bungie's young. They're sowing their wild oats.
Okay, no. As far as I'm concerned, if you get acquired by a business that owns many other businesses, you are in an open relationship.
It's a poly relationship.
It's not monogamous at all.
Yeah.
Sony,
They're very poly.
Yeah.
And they should be.
I mean, I like the idea of Bungie having, like, I didn't realize that they had because it's like they're independent, then Microsoft, then independent, then Activision Blizzard I had no idea about, independent again. I just assumed they were Microsoft this entire time, which is why I was surprised. Like, they've been bought by Sony. I'm like, how did Microsoft give them up? Oh, they haven't had them for a while. I didn't realize that was the thing. And
yeah, they spun them off a while ago, and then they got Activision, and then when they left Activision, it was one of those things where it's like, we didn't know, us being the consumers.
Yeah,
we're like, there's all this thing. There, people who were, shall we say, optimistic fans of Destiny, because this was while Destiny was going, right?
Yeah.
It was like optimistic fans of Destiny were like, aha, it was Activision meddling that was causing X and Y things I don't like about Destiny. Destiny not updating fast enough, blah 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 blah. Turns out that maybe wasn't. Maybe Activision was actually helping them in some ways.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, all right. Well, let's move on to more.
Actually, I will just say before we move on is that I want to at least I wish Bungie well. Buy something nice, maybe another video game company. Maybe do your own acquisitions for once. I'm done.
Okay. I mean, we're moving on to more stuff about. I mean, I guess we talked about the Wordle stuff.
I'm
fairly thoroughly.
Pretty
anyway.
sure we got loose. There's not much more to that.
The Lord of the Rings story is just a fun little thing of, hey, this is a thing that exists if you hadn't heard about it. There you go.
I will say, the for the shoulder graphics for this, for the last graphic, I had to get a picture of the AO3 page for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
But the picture that you see in the corner is actually a heavily modified picture, and not for the reasons you think, and not because there was a bunch of. So I go to AO3. The from various checkpoint stories, my search history is already completely gone to pot, so I don't care. But I go to AO3. I go to, there's like a tag for Lord of the Rings, and there's a ton of ones. Now, but the problem is the way AO3's presents results is not very conducive to screenshotting. This is something that actually happens quite often in for checkpoint graphics. Is that it's like, for like I mess around with YouTube all the time too, where it's like if I want to get a picture of a bunch of YouTube videos, YouTube's interface doesn't actually present the videos in a very useful way
for that kind of thing, yeah.
Because it's like there's just like a lot of space. Like what I want is like a grid of a bunch of videos. And so for the AO3 thing, AO3 will present it and be like the title, and then like a bunch of info about it, a block of tags that's like
Oh yeah.
5
Yeah,
lines
it's basically
long.
like Tumblr.
And then like a paragraph of description.
Yep.
And then like a bunch of stuff about the author, and then a bunch of stuff about like info. And so like you can't actually. So if I had taken a screenshot of that and used it as a shoulder graphic,
It'd be
it
like
would just
one.
look like a screenshot of text. Like you couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And so I have to like go in and I'll be like, okay, I want this AO3 page, but then I'll go into like the source and like hide all the tags and hide all the things and hide all the thing stuff, or hide all the ads, or mess around with you mess around with the CSS and HTML of the page to make it like format itself into something that I then can take a screenshot of. So then theoretically I could also like manipulate it in Photoshop afterwards, but sometimes it's easier to
Just remove elements.
just mess around with it in the inspector and in Chrome. So that's behind the scenes, another little thing that we do for doing stuff.
I was curious because I a lot of the YouTube ones, especially, I was like, I'm pretty sure YouTube doesn't look like that one.
Yeah.
But neat.
And I mean, and of course, and I also use that inspector thing sometimes to cheat. Like for instance, to make a joke or whatever. Like
yes.
if, or like, there's been lots of times where like I want to search for YouTube videos. It's like I want to show like there's a bunch of videos about hacks in this video game, and so I search for like hacks in Fallout, and there'll be 1,000 results. If I look at the front page of the 10 results that are on the front page, like 6 of them are about hacks and the rest are like other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll go in and delete the ones that aren't and compress the list and make it look as if the things are maybe more condensed than they would be otherwise.
Yeah.
But it's just it is an illustrative graphic
Yeah.
for the purposes of talking about the story.
Yeah, it's meant to help make a point, accentuate
Exactly.
the story,
Exactly.
not necessarily be
But
truth in
Right.
that
This-
accuracy of
Yeah, yeah.
proportion.
So anyway, there's interesting stuff that you do sometimes to actually be like, I want this graphic for the story. But
Yeah, I've definitely gone looking for things where people talk about a Nintendo game. Is like, does this thing exist? I'm like, I don't know. Let me go find out. And I'll have to bring up a game, and sometimes the game doesn't actually show stuff in a great way.
Like the fire thing in Hyrule Warriors. I used
That's
to find
true.
It was so good.
or there's sometimes there's things where like there's like there's like the memory of what something is.
Yeah.
But then you go and look at it and you realize that it's like, oh, that's like the way it actually appeared in the thing doesn't illustrate that point very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went looking for like I don't think we ended up doing a story on it, but there was like this alarm clock feature thing that was being talked about as a potential thing, and then it kind of existed. And I went looking
on the
for
Switch,
it.
right?
Right.
Yeah, and I went looking for it, and I found the thing, the actual place where you do it. But if I had taken a screenshot of it, it was so bland and didn't show anything properly that it didn't do anything.
Yeah. Or the other one that actually happens sometimes is, especially if we're talking about something like a hack or a glitch or a something, it'll be fixed.
Right.
And we don't like, so it'll be Beej and Graham will be writing it on Wednesday. I'll be doing the graphics on Thursday morning, and I'll go and look for that thing, or like look for a tweet, and the tweet will be deleted or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes you have to like reconstitute things, or like go back and find somebody else who's taken a screenshot of that to try to snag it or whatever, or watch like the Twitch VOD and try to like find the place and get the screenshot.
You ever do a search for like a person and a bunch of stuff comes up and you're like, oh shoot, there's definitely 3 different people here and I have to identify the real person that I need.
I've definitely done that before, yeah. There's like, when you look for like, whatever, the CEO of some company, and you're like, what I love is certain people who are not, like, especially heads of companies that aren't like in the public eye that much. Mm-hmm. You do a search for their name and it'll be like an entire page with like 50 versions of the same picture of them in different publications, but there's only one picture of this person.
We all found one photo and we all used it. Yeah.
Anyway, that I don't know how we got onto that. Right, we're talking about the.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We don't need to talk about Wordle though. We could generally just move
yeah.
on to the next one.
And for Wordle, I had to think of a five-letter Lord of the Rings word.
Yep.
I was like Hobbit. Wait, no, crap. That doesn't. This is always the problem with Wordle.
I'm so much better
Dwarf?
at 6-letter words.
Dwarf is
apparently.
yeah. Well, it's the problem with Wordle is that the moment I start playing Wordle, my vocabulary for 5-letter words disappears.
Yeah.
I suddenly can remember every single 4-letter and every single 6-letter word in the dictionary, but no 5-letter words.
So the fun thing is, if you take a 4-letter word, you can add an S to the end of it most of the time. That's how I operate.
Unless the thing says there's no S.
Yes, that is a problem.
So yeah, now and then the Graham's second story is of course about the dreaded Nifts.
You mean Neft?
Nefts.
Which
Nefts.
was Neft.
The Verge?
Neft was The Verge was the one who did a thing about how it's pronounced Neft.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a joke?
I don't.
I didn't read that
Actually,
article.
I've never heard somebody pronounce it as not just in letters.
I feel like they don't want to call it nifty.
Yeah, Nifty's nuts.
So
I am
I'm
firmly
I'm
against
okay.
that becoming the word.
yeah, I'm okay with people
That's my
calling
brand.
it Neft.
I have that already.
I'm also okay with us eradicating all NFTs at all, and then not having to say
It's
them.
just like not talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Neft rhymes with theft. Okay, that's pretty good.
Ooh.
Um,
Ooh.
And this idea, this continual thing. I don't know if we maybe should have like a, I don't know, some sort of.
Side graphic?
Oh well, I was thinking like a little counter or something of like number of companies that have announced NFTs and then canceled them immediately.
I like, well, having two counters would be
So-
really good. Number that have announced, the number have canceled, and see like, okay, are we actually gonna ever reach parity or not?
and it's just like it always just comes back. It's like
they're practically always equal.
yeah, they're always off by one because friggin' Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Apparently.
So this one in particular, I saw this one happen live on my Twitter feed in real time, which was fun. Where Worms Team 17 was like, "We're gonna do this thing,"
Well-
and then suddenly there's a dissension of like, "No."
Because of course we played Worms on stream on Monday.
Yeah.
And that's when they announced this on Monday, like a couple hours before our stream went, and I was like, oh. And like I like
We've
mentioned,
already bought copies of it. We were already set up to play it.
and I talked to the mods, and I was like, FYI, this is a thing. Hopefully, it's not going to be an issue, but you know, we don't want to have the stream like bogged down by us talking about NFTs because we're supposed to be just like hanging out and blowing each other up with missiles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, not that, like, you know, obviously talking about NFTs is fine, but when it's in the middle of a stream with something else, having the chat talk about something not really related to what's going on screen just ends up being kind of weird.
It can be really hard to interact with the chat at that point.
So I appreciate, big ups to the mods, of course, and also I appreciate viewers who took the mods' direction and didn't push that too hard.
Now, Lurker Spine in the chat says, I'm surprised CheckPoint didn't cover EA backing off of NFTs. And
Today?
the thing is that when pressed on it, the EA CEO gave a very tepid response, as opposed to how, like, very forward
that,
they were
right, okay.
previously about how, yes, NFTs we see are the future of gaming. And then at like an investors meeting or whatever call it was, something that happened and they were pressed on it like briefly, and they would give a very tepid response as opposed to being the other thing. So it's like not really a story yet. Probably could end up being a story. I mean, it's not like EA's come forward and been like, hey, so we heard from everybody and we've decided that we're not going to do this. Like that hasn't happened yet because they probably can't, especially a CEO from a company that big can't really do the thing of saying, hey, I was wrong about this, because the board will smell blood in the water and be like, this person doesn't know how to operate this company because they just started saying shit. So, you know, they can't do that because it is one of those stupid politician style things of I can't afford to be seen being wrong which is
right.
horseshit because the people who are your
If I
customers.
change my opinion, that means that
Yeah.
my opinion was wrong.
Yeah, and it means that I must be a bad person because I didn't come fully formed out of the womb with good opinions. It's like you can say, I was told a bunch of stuff about how this is supposed to work because it's not my job to know every intricate detail of it. When I found out how it actually worked, I realized that these people have been lying to me, so I won't be dealing
Now-
with them anymore. That's how you sell it.
I also want to point out because Nintendo had their financial quarterly meeting thing like the night like 1 a.m. or whatever because it's Japan and
They actually had it like 1 a.m. in Japan.
Yeah.
It was just like,
well 1 a.m. our time is when like all that information started to like come out
our
and
game has been doing
they
pretty
did
good.
get asked they got asked if they were looking into NFTs as well, and so there's a couple articles here and there that's like, oh, Nintendo's looking into NFTs, but the answer was something along the lines of, yes, we're looking into that. We're trying to figure out how they would be fun.
Yeah.
We need to know how they would be fun.
So far, the answer is not. But
And granted, like I remember when we saw like Hasbro months ago be like, we're looking into doing this thing and whatnot. And I do think it's worth telling companies that are like, oh, we're gonna look into it to not do it.
yeah,
But until they actually state
yeah,
we're
I think
doing it, I feel like a group of people saying we're looking into it is like, well, yes, because you're a company, you're looking into anything that'll make you money.
yeah. Like if you're a big company, you're you should be probably looking into it. If nothing else, than to know why you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, and if you're doing a financial
So that if
result
somebody
meeting
else
and
comes to you-
somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, are you looking into blah thing?" Your answer should probably be like, "Well, we are now because you mentioned it. I'm going to make a note. I'm going to go look it up." Like,
I mean, by and large, like Nintendo having a company-wide token thing already with amiibos, right? It's like here's a piece of DLC that you buy, but it's actually a thing.
Nintendo
that
is like, we invented artificial scarcity already.
yeah,
We've got
we don't
that.
need to do this digitally. Like, I mean, well, I guess we wouldn't have to print anything, like make things. We wouldn't have to make cards, and we wouldn't have to make little figurines and stuff. But what's so fun about having a record on a computer that says you own a thing? Isn't it more fun to have a thing you can put on a shelf that you can look at and be like, ah, it's cool, that's Mario, you know, like that
Yeah.
kind of thing?
is it?
So there's, I think the thing for Nintendo is always going to be that sense of they're always going to take that thing of saying, if it's not fun, then we don't want to deal with it, regardless of whether it's a sustainable thing or not. Like the Wii with the Wiimote is like, that was
mean,
fun, but it wasn't the thing that
can-
could continue.
You can knock Nintendo all you like for being gimmicky and trying to be innovative all the time and whatnot, but I have far more fun with them trying to do those things.
Yeah.
And yeah, also, I mean, going back to the thing that the Ubisoft guy is talking about, I don't see Nintendo embracing the concept of secondary reselling in a secondary market anytime soon.
Fair enough.
That's
my
very
goodness!
true.
It's just
Yeah.
so there were some remarks on the CheckPoint episode in the comment section that was like, okay, Ubisoft, if your consumer base of gamers don't get it, then are you not at the very best, just doing a bad job of marketing?
Yeah, we
because
always-
as your consumer needs to get it in order to want to buy your product.
Because we always say, like, if when a professor at a college is bragging to their class about how they had the lowest passing rate of any teacher, that's how tough my class is. That's how tough it is to do whatever. And I'm like,
Not a good class.
yeah, that's a terrible class
that's a
because
terrible teacher.
everybody who shows up in that class doesn't know the thing, and you're supposed to have them leaving knowing the thing. And if they leave and still don't know the thing, is that just not? Oh, they still don't know. Like, I did a terrible job of teaching them the thing.
By the way, so talking about this story, I just want people can find it, but so the Ubisoft interview, or the interview in Finder magazine, with
It's on fighter.com.au.
yes, with Nicolas Puard, VP of Ubisoft Strategic Innovations Lab. that interview with him, it's worthwhile reading because it's bonkers. Like, he is, you talk about doubling down. They're going deep. And very, very odd.
I
The
mean, no, go ahead.
Sorry, and my favorite line, which you can see a little bit in the shoulder graphic, like it's in the part that's like darkened, not because it's not part of the quote, but because he he's talking about how gamers don't get what a digital secondary market can bring to them. But the rest of the quote being, for now, because of the current situation and context of NFTs, gamers really believe it's first destroying the planet and second a tool for speculation.
Huh?
He doesn't say that that's not what it's doing.
That's
He's
true.
like-
He doesn't deny it.
He's just saying, like, for now, because of the current situation and context. So it's like, the current situation is that they're destroying the planet.
So,
But maybe in the future, they might not be destroying the planet.
if that's the reputation, like let's say, let's work in a hypothetical here that everybody in your consumer base, because it's not going to be everybody, but everybody in your consumer base looks at an NFT and is like, that's fucking destroying the planet. And your thing is like, no, they're actually really great, and they're not doing that. But
Yeah.
that is the perception that you have to fight. Is it actually worth your time to fight? Like, is there enough? Is that worth the time of doing, or
Well,
just?
It's worth the time doing if your paycheck depends upon you doing it. I think that's there's the old saw about it's impossible to get a man to agree with something that goes against his own paycheck. And I think that's the thing here, is that these guys, their job literally is to create the blockchain thing for Ubisoft. And of course, everything they say is going to be about, this thing is really good for Ubisoft. Why? Because I'm going to get paid to develop it.
Sure.
It's very, and I mean...
But I'm working in a hypothetical here,
Sure,
so
right.
I'm not talking about like people believe, like his argument is people don't get it.
Yeah,
And
I would
I'm
rather
like,
talk about
well,
what you're talking about.
If your whole thing is I have to fight this perception and it's an uphill fight,
Yeah.
is it really worth your time to be doing that?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's kind of like, no, if I have to... I mean, I guess it depends on if you're a true believer and you're like, I think that we could plug in something else. Like, I think universal healthcare is a great idea. And there's a bunch of people out there who be like, no, I think it's a terrible idea. It's like, but I think human rights depends upon being safe from being hurt. Like, those kind of things.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I
depending on how you've
suppose.
twisted your brain around into supporting anything, if you're that kind of person, then that gets even harder and harder. So if the guys...
I just find it like a weird thing to watch people constantly be all... I mean, this interview specifically, too, of, like, of doubling down on things when we see so many other groups being like, within, like, a day turnaround, or even within a couple months being like, woo, okay, didn't expect that reaction, just gonna walk away here.
Anyway.
I do like that in the interview they say, well, what about all these other companies that are walking away from it who did like these turnarounds? And they're like, oh, well, I think they just aren't doing a thing that works right for them, but our thing's going to work right for us. And it's like, are you not actually paying attention to what your other people in the industry are doing? Do you think that maybe you should? Because if they said they're going to do the same thing you're doing, but then they decided not to, do you think that's indicative of they're not able to do it, or that they looked at it and were like, this is not something people want?
I have to admit, too, I think most interviews I'm used to seeing are so full of, well, we're looking into everything, and we might do a thing, but we might not do a thing, because nobody has any information they can actually speak on.
What would be a brilliant question to ask these people would have been to say that, okay, so, the people making Stalker 2 are walking away from this. It's like, yeah, I just don't think they're like, okay, well, how would you sell the people if you got let go by Ubisoft, but Stalker 2, those guys said they wanted to hire you? How would you sell them on the fact that they should be doing this?
I don't know if you can answer a question like that, because at that point you're basically giving away free work.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Well, you're explaining your ethos then.
But you're still giving away free work at that point.
I mean, on Ubisoft, they're talking about the like bad for the environment thing, and they're using the Tezos blockchain, which is a proof of stake blockchain. So theoretically,
Less work.
better for the environment stuff. They've got this thing where it's like one Ubisoft Quartz transaction powered by the Tezos blockchain consumes 1 million times less than a Bitcoin transaction.
Okay.
So 30 seconds of streaming video consumes as much as one transaction on Tezos. 1 year of streaming video consumes as much as one transaction on Bitcoin, which is 30 seconds of streaming video per transaction.
Yep.
Still seems like a lot. Also, so this is like a weird illustration of like, one, how bad the technology is, and two, how really bad Bitcoin is. So it's sort of, I mean, it's like, this is bad. It's not like that positive for Tezos, and it's really bad for Bitcoin.
I mean, that also means if your thing gets more popular, though, that expands because there's more transactions.
I mean, it's like the energy per transaction thing is kind of a red herring anyway because of the way the whole system works.
Yeah.
But it's a metric that people use. But anyway, so we talked about a couple months ago last year, that we resisted talking about NFTs on CheckPoint for a while.
We didn't want
a few
to.
weeks, yeah.
And they were smaller stories that weren't necessarily the big story of the day either.
Yeah. And it was like, one, it's like smaller stories, and two, we knew that, we would get people in the comments that
had
are
all
kind
that
of
ABK
butts
news
and
to
stuff.
go on.
Well, and the grift is depressing, right? Like, it's like,
Yeah.
to cover the grift is depressing, so.
And it's just like, and a lot of it just like isn't that interesting because it's just like the same thing over and over again. So, obviously, maybe we can. We look forward to a time where we can move to not talking about NFT stories. We'll have some sort of celebration when we have like a couple of weeks in a row where there isn't an NFT story.
Yeah. Not on stream where you can see, though, because then we'd be talking about NFTs.
Yeah.
Oh, how ironic. But if we want physical tokens that are not at all fungible, Limited Run Games is opening a brick and mortar store in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Which there's quite a few people in the comments who are like, hey.
I live like 10 minutes away from here.
Or they're like, it's just like a story about a place near me.
Yeah.
Yay.
Or place I...
And so
That's unusual.
we're so it should be neat. Obviously the picture that we have there is like it is still under construction, like it's empty.
Oh, yeah. I mean...
It's not opening for a while. August.
I'm curious definitely to see pictures of when they're up and running because it looks like fun. I would definitely go if I lived in the area because new store, curious. Their booths at PAX have been generally not necessarily huge because it's just like, here's the stuff we normally have and it's like a pop-up booth. But a permanent store could be fun.
Yeah. And it's sort of interesting because, what Beach talks about here about GameStop.
Did so much research on this.
And because it's like GameStop, it's been a long time, maybe like 10 years ago, GameStop started this transition from being like video games and used video games to having a lot of video game related stuff. So they started adding like Funko Pops and
Well, and then they bought ThinkGeek.
And they bought
and
ThinkGeek.
they
So
just
it's like sort of
destroyed it.
lots of stuff that's like in the video game space or geeky space and stuff. So their stores became more than just like the video games and stuff. And so as Beavis was saying, theoretically, they could have made whatever, done something like limited run games. But that would involve them, caring about what they're doing.
Yeah, and like,
and it would be quite a different business model.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like, Beach was like, I mean, GameStop already has stores, and they're dying. Like, what up with that? And like, limited run has been around for a while, but they've also gained steam with the whole thing of making smaller games into physical things, and the things in the name, right? Limited run. They do a run. That eventually it's going to leave. They have people who try, because they number their game editions, so they do have people who try to collect them all.
Oh,
that's just a thing people do. Because they do a limited run thing, they always have a special edition that's incredibly hard to get. Not bitter about the Celeste one at all. And it's decent. I did think it was funny that Beach said that he had limited run stuff, because I'm the only person who's bought limited run stuff.
I mean,
I think.
I have them in my house, which happens to be your house.
Do you know what they are?
Not a goddamn clue.
Legally,
the Hollow Knight collectible edition.
Hollow Knight I got from
Fangamer. I knew it. Yeah.
Legally, he owns half of them.
I believe I got Celeste, and then I got a Vita game, which was like one of the last Vita games they made, because they stopped making carts, and I think Limited Run had to try to buy as many carts as they could before they all disappeared.
Like, the
They
idea...
do they do like the Super Nintendo reissues and stuff too?
They've done a couple for special edition things, and Game Boy games, I think, and stuff.
I think every time that one of these limited companies, like Strictly Limited Games or Limited Run Games, or any of the companies that make the physical stuff, I'm very much in favor of the physical thing, because I like to look at my shelf and see my games, and also know that it's like that game will always be there, even if it means that I have to run the 1.0 version instead of the 1.1 version if the server ever shuts down, whatever. But it's the idea of like taking that to the next level and saying we're going to open a store. I'm like, good fucking luck, but I think you're gonna last your lease and then maybe have to move out. But because it is in North Carolina and it's in a town I've never heard of in North Carolina, it's not like Raleigh or something like that. That I'm like, you probably this place will probably last, and I'm kind of like, more companies should think about that. Open your stores up in areas that are like a little bigger, but not like fucking New York.
Constable Crab in the chat saying. Apparently, Cary is the most bougie city in North Carolina.
Is it?
So it's probably good. They probably did some market research.
It's probably pretty expensive then to open places there too. So
I mean, I'm a fan of stuff from limited run games, even though I don't buy a bunch of it, because it's never. I mean, it's always at inopportune times, but I wouldn't mind a world where GameStop just kind of goes under and gets replaced by limited run games.
Can you imagine
in a bunch of places? I'd be for that.
If GameStop was ever doing going out of business and had like a going out of business sale, like that would be the time that everyone floods their stores and is like, let's pick this place to the bone. Now I'm finally willing to pay money for Super Mario Brothers socks. Because they're not $40 a pair. They're like, oh, now it's only $4. Okay.
There was a Reddit thread like several months back that I read where this person, a GameStop locally went down, and they managed to buy from them the Switch display thing that had like the TV and
nice.
the like where you plug in the Switch and stuff. And they didn't get the TV with it because that was like a separate thing, but they got the whole special display thing, and they set it up in their house, and they put a new TV in it and all this stuff, and it was really neat. And it was just like, that should have been something that the vendor came back for.
Yeah.
There actually, speaking of GameStop, there was some movement on the, or not some movement, but there's been some kerfuffle about the GameStop stock just recently, just because it's been. I think we're at the like 1 year anniversary of that
to
whole
the moon, yeah.
of the stocks thing,
of the thing, and it's dropped a lot, but it's still high.
Yeah.
And people are still there's a contingent of people who are are still
Holding their...
believing in it and holding it and waiting for whatever to happen.
It's a showdown. Like, at this point, it's like, do you keep your money in an investment that you're waiting to screw over anyone who's trying to short it? And it's like, so now you have two people staring themselves down. At some point, someone's got to blink and say, "No, I'm out," and "Oh no, I'm out," and then somebody gets what they want, or people don't, right? But it's yeah. I'm sorry I missed the first half of the story, because I was really happy to write that, because in a way I would love to go to... I mean, that's the fun about going to PAXs and stuff and getting on the floor where these companies show up with their stuff, and then getting to walk through and be like, look at all the weird stuff
I must always go to the pink gorilla booth, because it's in the same spot.
Yeah.
It's got the big pink signs, which is kind of fun. And you can kind of just walk through this myriad of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, and this is mostly just the kind of consumer I am, but to me, people like limited run games they're the epitome of the like, oh wow, that's so cool. Anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't buy that stuff.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Absolutely.
Because it's just like, that's super cool. But like, so like if you did a survey of everybody, but like, do people think this is a good idea?
Yeah.
Everyone says yes, and then you put out the thing and nobody buys it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, I mean, obviously limited run games has been around for a while, so they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They got their demographic, but that would be my concern with a company like it seems like the epitome of that kind, where it's like, if you are Yacht Club or one of these indie companies that has stuff produced by them,
Yeah.
it's like the fact that a thing has been produced and is there to sort of look at is sort of more the value than the actual like money you get from selling whatever 1,000 copies of your physical version of it.
Yeah.
It's more about the like cachet of having a thing.
And that's, I mean, well, and like I touch on that very briefly on the GameStop story, or the GameStop half of the story, which, man, did I was trying to find the dongle and the hole and the puzzle piece to make those two things fit together, because I was like, I know these two things belong together, but how do they fit? And to find out that GameStop actually had a game publishing arm called Game Trust, they still technically do have that. The last thing they published was Trine 1, 2, and 3 as a physical thing you could buy for the Switch, only for the Switch. Different from the Trine Ultimate Collection, which is you buy the Trine Ultimate Collection physical copy, it only comes with Trine 4 on board and a download for 1, 2, and 3. So this is 1, 2, and 3 on a cart. And I'm like, okay, so you guys only did 7 games, but when you did Song of the Deep specifically, you said, we think that there's a lot of value in this IP, and we're gonna dump a ton of stuff on the market. And I was like, oh well, what's a ton of stuff? Oh, you did a Funko Pop. Okay, that's a kind of a start. Well, you did like also like a Pop Ride, which is like a different thing, I guess. Like, but also you did like a watch, like a limited edition watch, and you did like a jigsaw puzzle. Like, I was looking all this stuff up on eBay, because it's like, what am I gonna find? And of course, the dude is, in the interview, was talking about Song of the Deep, saying how like, oh, well, the collector's edition that we sold, because it's a $15 game, but the collector's edition is worth more, obviously. So you can buy just the game, you can buy the game with a bunch of other stuff with it. That's, collector's editions. Is now going for 3 times as much. This is back in 2019 or 2018 when you did the interview. It's going for 3 times as much on eBay than it did from when we sold it, which shows that there are people out there who see the value in these things, because they're willing to flip it on eBay for 3 times its price. And I was like, that's the sickest way to calculate value on how well a video game investment is doing, on whether or not. But it is the way we've come up with.
I mean, you can imagine though, like, Humble, like the Humble store.
Oh yeah.
Has a video game publishing arm.
Yeah.
GOG obviously is owned by
CD Projekt
Red. So like the idea of or it's like Netflix making originals or whatever. Like the idea of a video game store also getting into the publishing business, it's not that weird.
No, exactly.
They just
It's just this
didn't really cook.
Yeah, this is an interesting thing where a video game publisher and just a physical publisher is saying we want to make a store, and because hey, we need a place, we could use yet another place to show off our wares.
And then the final thing that we talked about on the actual episode of Checkpoint is that Yacht Club has finally pulled the trigger on Mina the Hollower. We sort of knew it was coming.
This surprised me actually.
Well,
so
yeah.
but you knew they were doing a new thing.
They did their own
Well, they
direct
were
thing.
Yeah, they had been they were definitely hinting that there was a new thing because there was Hollow Knight and there's all the stuff for Hollow Knight.
Or Shovel Knight.
Shovel Knight, sorry. There's Shovel Knight and all the stuff for Shovel Knight. And then there's like the Shovel Knight mobile game. But then they were talking about that they were working on a new IP. And so yeah, Mina the Hollower and on Kickstarter, and on not surprisingly, it has been extremely successful on Kickstarter. To be honest, I was a little surprised at because their ask was like $300,000.
Yeah,
which seems relatively conservative for somebody like Yacht. Like I feel like they, probably could have pushed that a lot higher.
I mean,
as they're like, I feel, but maybe they wanted to make sure. I mean, I guess they wanted to like have it go way overfunded, so because that looks better.
It might also be a thing of them saying that we know the we're able to survive on Shovel Knight sales and all this other stuff.
I mean, there is a lot of Shovel Knight stuff. Like they did just release that puzzle game
and everything
not that long ago, and it's getting DLC.
And everything they're showing for Mina the Hollower, like they're showing not just like pre-made stuff. Like they're showing a lot of different environments, a lot of different different locations or settings, or how you want to refer to it.
So it kind of feels like that's already kind of
they're probably like 80% of the way along.
It's got at least maybe kind of a prototype or something.
And so they're probably into this thing right now of like we're treating our Kickstarter more like a pre-order system than it is anything else.
It should be,
as opposed to like when Bloodstained did theirs, where they were like, here is a workup of what this thing will look like. Don't touch the edges because it might all fall apart.
Yeah, I mean, I did laugh really hard when I saw that it was called Mina the Hollower, because I literally didn't play Hollow Knight for ages because I thought it was a Shovel Knight expansion thing, because I only saw the name.
Cool, because there was like Shovel Knight and then like King Knight and Plague Knight and all the other.
And I bought the original Shovel Knight. I played a little bit. It's not my jam, but there is something kind of fun about, like, I've walked past the booth for Yacht Games at PAX several times. The people there are incredibly friendly, and every time I see them putting Shovel Knight in another thing, I'm like, cool, good for you. I am kind of waiting for the day when you make something not Shovel Knight, because Shovel Knight's not my jam, and well, maybe this will be.
As a note,
it looks cute. If
Shovel Knight is your jam, i.e., sort of old school side scroller,
very Mega Man.
If that kind of thing is your jam, the Shovel Knight, whatever, complete chest or gold chest or whatever it's called, is a hell of a deal, because it's Shovel Knight, which is a full game, and then the Plague Knight and King Knight and stuff, which not only are like new characters in the game to play through, but using that character basically completely changes the game. Like the levels are similar styled, but because the characters have such different capabilities, it almost completely changes the actual. And there's new levels and new things. So like it is a excellent money for value, or value for money.
I gotta look up the puzzle game and see if that's something I want to try out or not.
Now, if they had a Shovel Knight Picross,
I've heard fun things about. Well,
that's
yes,
how you get
definitely.
Heather's attention.
It would be day one. Shovel Knight's a decent enough character. It's
Shovel
just
Cross.
The kind of gameplay is not.
I was very surprised when I found a Shovel Knight in Bloodstained. I was like, there's no, what the hell are you doing?
The guy gets around.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
And then I got his armor, and I'm like, what the hell is this doing here?
I mean, I think Shovel Knight was one of the first like indie games to get an amiibo.
Yeah.
Like that was a big deal.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. Well, let's look at other stories we didn't talk about. Not a whole lot, actually. We covered most of the stuff because a couple of the stories that we talked about in CheckPoint are sort of amalgamations of several, sort of touch on several stories. But Battlefield 2042 is apparently the new whipping boy. It's the new, like, it was there, or not first, but there's like, Fallout 76.
Right.
There was, Cyberpunk. Battlefield 2042 is the new, like, game that's always broken and everyone's mad at. Because it has not been received very well. And so what they've decided to do is delay the first season of it.
Okay.
So Battlefield 2042 is also multiplayer only.
Okay, sure. There are games like that.
Yeah. But it's more, but delaying the first season of content for it when it's multiplayer only is that's a tough gig.
Yeah.
And they're delaying this thing because it's basically it's too broken right now. They don't want.
I have a question.
So they want to work on
Does
it.
Battlefield 2042 have a roadmap? Because
I don't know.
I think all games that have roadmaps, when they delay a thing, should call it a pit stop.
This decision gives us time to focus on improving the Battlefield 2042 experience while finalizing development of our seasonal content. But it's like, if you've got a seasonal content for a game and the first season doesn't start till like 6 months after the game comes out, that's not a good sign. Also, like, the kinds of things that are a problem on Battlefield, like, that they don't have in this, theoretical AAA multiplayer game that's like supposed to be the new, like, flagship multiplayer game, replacing Battlefield 5, I think. Just quite the upgrade from 5 to 2042. They clearly skipped a few versions in there. The kinds of things that they don't have is, for instance, a scoreboard. They're hoping to add voice chat soon.
Oh, that's
Like,
that is kind of odd.
and it's like, what? How does EA not have like 50 implementations of voice chat? Like,
That they
why
could
is
just
that?
say,
put on.
Why is that something that they have to design, like, make?
That is odd. Yeah. Huh. It's not a good look.
Yeah. VoIP communications should arrive soon, although they don't specify when.
Oh, that's.
I mean, weren't there some, like, looter shooters launched without voice chat as well, where they were like, you had to use the
They're
Probably.
usually
the thing to say, come this way, over to me.
they're usually smaller companies though, right? Like,
Yeah, I guess.
little dev teams that have done it was like their first rodeo, right?
Okay.
Maybe.
And it's,
I don't know. I have to play those.
Whereas this is going up, against Call of Duty, Halo Infinite, blah blah blah. So it's a tough. Yeah, they're not having the Battlefield 2042 team has not been having a good time. My sympathies go out to them because I'm sure, just like with Cyberpunk and all these other things, internally people were saying this is not ready. Don't put it out yet.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they decided they had to do it. Oli Oli World.
Oh yes, this is.
I haven't
good.
actually. Have you played Oli Oli
I
World?
think it's Ollie Ollie.
Oli Oli World.
Yeah, because it's like about doing ollies in
Right.
played
Because
it.
it's kind of an. I think my impression is it's sort of an arcadey
It's fun.
skateboard game, kind of in like Tony Hawk
yeah,
area,
Yeah.
but it's more
an
cartoony.
endless skater.
Well, Ollie Ollie World is definitely really up on the cartoony, but like the original is a little bit more, if I remember, kind of like a 2D thing. And I played a little bit of it. It was pretty fun. I love this piece of news, whether or not I buy this game.
if
or not.
if I ended up covering this, my lower third would have been Ole Ole World.
You're right. Anyway, the upcoming update for Ollie Ollie World, Danny Trejo is going to be in it.
You know, the guy you know from Spy Kids, and certainly not any other movies.
Machete.
Or TV shows or anything else he's been in.
Also, here, I love the.
He looks so good.
Let me switch to the.
Like they have nailed this character so well. Like it's
Yeah, I just think it's delightful.
the thing says the studio described the cameo as one of the most visually impressive and lifelike digital recreations of Danny Trejo ever.
yeah. I mean, and this also sets the stage for more Magic the Gathering celebrities to show up in Ollie Ollie World. So look for us later, I guess.
Where's the Ollie Ollie World crew?
He's yeah.
I guess it's just the character maker, but
Danny Trejo is awesome.
Oh yeah.
Just apart from this, and I hope so. There's a great interview I read with him where he was talking about how he just loves being in movies.
Yeah.
And you see him show up in movies, and apparently, like, one of the things he loves doing is being in, like, very low budget, like, student, or, like, you know, just slightly
Indies, yeah.
slightly above, like, a student movies.
Yeah.
Where he just like shows up and sort of he loves the enthusiasm that sort of young filmmakers have.
Yeah.
And stuff. So like, but in this interview, people were talking about like, what's the next movie you're like, what's coming out, you know, that we can see, and he's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm in so many movies. I don't know what movies are going to be coming out.
I like the idea too of like, well, if I'm in like any and all movies, it's going to be a surprise when you see me.
But I'm hoping maybe he'll do this for video games
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Instead of just movies, he could be like Shovel Knight,
Yeah.
just showing up in
Trejo
everything.
Knight,
Do you,
yeah.
think, do you think we could get him in a lure sketch? Or something?
I feel like
Timing it have to work out, but he would probably
I
agree
feel
to
like
it.
if he was in Victoria and had time, he would probably be down for it.
Yeah.
I just think it'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
It would be awesome. I don't know what we would do with him, but
I know.
I mean, maybe we'd play Magic. Apparently, I don't know if he actually plays Magic, but at least he was. We know people who know him.
I know that the the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences gives out Lifetime Achievement Awards, and I'm sure that Danny's probably never going to pull down like Best Supporting Actor or something in a movie, because it's always goes to people in dramas and stuff like that. But I think that like guys like him, there needs to be like for him and for like James Wong. God damn, I forgot his name already.
Like character
actors, guys who are like they're in like so much stuff and they've been doing such a great job acting for so many years, and the people enjoy watching them, and it's like that kind of stuff. I'm like, I would love to see there be a category for them to be like, you have been doing this for so long, you have been in so many things, you are recognizable and beloved. Mm-hmm. That I think you deserve an award for this kind of thing. You deserve recognition.
I do like the idea of having him just show up in Friday nights. He could be a guest judge or something.
Oh God, yeah.
There's a great there's a documentary called Inmate Number One, which is about Danny Trejo, because making fun of the fact that for a very long time he was always like the head scary guy.
Yeah.
Like he was just like the scary guy in whatever the movie was.
Yeah.
And so half the time he wouldn't even have like a name. Because apparently that's a random Danny Trejo fact that apparently that's how he was in prison. He's a former inmate. And as part of when he got out, he was doing like a halfway house kind of thing,
right.
And a support thing, and he was acting as like the support for another guy who was going to be an extra in a movie. And so he went with him to the thing, and it was like a scene in like they were like robbing a convenience store, and the director was like, "Can we get that guy in this?" And then they got him in, and then he was like, "This is not really how you would rob this thing. And the director's like, how do you know? He's like, because I was in prison for robbing a convenience store. This is how you would do it.
Awesome.
And so that was sort of his start on the thing.
I mean, the director, if had any mind, would have said back, it's like, look, if your way is how you rob a convenience store, you wouldn't be in prison for it. You clearly did not work out.
These are better Robert. No. Yeah. There's a new League of Legends character.
Again?
Yeah, that's
guess?
something that happens quite often.
They have to keep doing it, or else
I assume so.
It'll grind to a halt.
And I know this is going to be a shock to some of you, but the internet has gotten kind of thirsty about this new character.
Great. Why?
But in kind of a fun way, because
Thirsty, but in a fun way.
Not in a mentally damaging way.
People have been really into that she's a little different than a lot of the other. League of Legends has obviously a huge roster of characters.
Yeah.
But this new character, Renata Glask, the Chem Baroness.
It's a good title.
She has like a she's got like a robotic arm. But one of the things, so she hasn't actually come out yet. Mm-hmm. She has just been previewed. But one of the things like about her is that she's large and kind of built. She's kind of tough.
Yeah. She's probably got abs.
So she's invoking that Lady Dimitrescu energy.
Right. The I'm going to step on you energy. Right.
Okay. But what's more interesting is that she's an older woman and depicted as such, which is not that common in League of Legends or video games in general.
Kind of a Jaya Ballard thing. Is that her name? Yeah.
Yeah, you just got a little bit of that energy going on.
Yeah. Gray white hair, some wrinkles, some like very very set. She's seen some shit, and so we drew that on her face, so that. But yeah, it looks like she looks very tough.
So yeah, so people have people think she's awesome and have of course immediately started drawing various memes and fan fiction and so forth.
Fan art is when something is hot.
Planning their cosplays, all sorts of fun stuff. Also, her thing is she's the Chem Baroness, and apparently her ultimate power is something called Hostile Takeover, which you actually take, like you basically make the opponents
turn them,
make them fight their buddies.
Right.
So she's a chemist.
Yes, that's the way to think about it. Yeah.
And so
I like the idea of a big tall science lady with thirsty energy.
Yeah.
And now and so of course again the character isn't even like playable yet, but the meme is already like no the Chem Baroness made me do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, lots of cool stuff. Dying Light
2.
Dying Light 2, which is the of course had all the kerfuffle about it being either really long or not very long or medium length. But people are really excited to get started on it. But some people apparently some retailers shipped it too early, and so people got it before they were supposed to. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be coming out today, but people got it earlier in the week.
Okay.
And so Techland, the developer, put out a thing that was like, there's a day one patch, but day one is Friday.
Yeah.
So if you got it early, please don't play it. Because it's not going to be as good as it will be on Friday when the patch comes out. Because we've been fixing stuff since it went gold.
Look, when you come over to my house, if you come over before Friday, if that place is a mess,
Exactly.
my day one patch of fixing it all
Exactly.
isn't until Friday. So please excuse the mess.
They're like,
Understand.
when you've got when you've got an essay due, the teacher doesn't ask for it 4 days before the deadline.
Now, is today launch day?
Yes, the 4th.
So that means that the day one patch is already out.
So the day one patch should be out today. Today is day one.
So if I'm going to trust people in chat, it looks like Wild Peaks already is playing Dying Light 2, has the day one patch, and saying, "Oh, there's other stuff that's broken still, though."
Well,
still.
okay. A day one patch doesn't mean everything works amazingly well.
Okay, well maybe we'll need
still
like
maybe
we'll
have-
also need like a day 3 patch.
I might still have some dishes I accidentally left in the sink.
Exactly.
So those were not a huge priority.
I mean, not even accidentally. I left those there on purpose while I went to do something else.
Think about think about how broken it was before the patch, if it's still broken now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
My understanding is there's generally a list of bugs. They hopefully know about most of them. Some of them were more important to fix than others before the time in which things came out.
It's one of those
Is like the general thing of how I understand how patching works these days.
It's one of those like known unknown things, right? There's the known bugs, there's the unknown bugs,
Yeah.
and then there's the bugs that we don't know about. And sometimes those have to be found out by just actually putting it out there.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, for Dying Light 2, remember, you've got 5 years
Oh yeah.
to play this game.
Yeah.
There's going to be new patches and new content for the next 5 years.
What's
according
one
to their
day?
roadmap.
I don't think their roadmap included 5 years worth of patching. Hopefully.
Yeah.
You know what?
By year 4,
what-
the game is going to be like almost totally done.
Whatever video game you play, I hope that it is at least fun,
I also don't think that
even if it is bug friendly.
I don't think that their roadmap worked out that you were going to have to at least stop a few times from Warsaw to Madrid. You can't just walk there in 500 hours. You're going to have to stop to sleep and
You
maybe
gotta
eat
sleep.
and,
You gotta make pit stops.
You gotta
like
make
I
pit
say.
stops on the roadmap.
They should call the delays pit stops.
Yeah. So I hope all of you enjoy this
gonna make
game
this
that's
catch
all
on.
about walking across Europe. That is because it's at this point that's as far as I know.
So
That's what
wait,
the game
you
is about.
saying that
It's-
Dying Light 2 is a spiritual sequel to Death Stranding?
It's a walking simulator.
and then
it's just-
and zombies are chasing you? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a
all I-
running app about
How far
that.
can you get in 500 hours?
All I know is that it's a zombie attacking type
This is
game.
the new Desert Bus, isn't it? That is that you have to play this game for 500 hours straight, and if you stop at any time, the zombies eat you, and you get towed back to Warsaw.
I don't think we even played Desert Bus for 500 hours straight in a year.
The idea that they just drag your ass back to
They
Warsaw.
don't even eat you, they just drag you back. Go again.
You did the thing wrong. I don't like this idea at all.
Quick question. What's this?
I mean, I know what it is.
A houseboat?
What is it showing you?
Well, a lot of windows, but not enough doors.
There's some gaps there, which are in interesting places, but I see a lot of gold and green.
It's somebody's Wordle results.
Oh,
Ah.
good for them.
Because
How do you get inside?
You don't.
yeah, I'm pretty sure there's there's a ladder up there.
Oh, thank Christ.
But that only leads to like the one
That leads
tiny
up there.
house.
Well, it's a lot of stairs.
Okay.
So somebody has what's the name of the person? So people have been making various obviously there's the thing in when you post your results from Wordle, there's the like squares and stuff. An Estonian programmer
Who doesn't have a name because they never seem to say it. Where is it? Image is Is that it? Tarno Annis via Townscapes and Polygon? Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe. Anyway, so there's a game called Townscapes, which is it's not even like that much of a game. It's more just sort of like a meditative thing where you get to kind of
Townscaper. Okay.
Townscaper, yes. It's almost sort of like a meditative thing where you get to draw just like cute little towns.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And there's like little animation and there's nice music and stuff. There isn't a lot to it as a game. It's more just kind of a visual fun thing. Yeah, they say more of a toy than a game.
Which I like.
And so somebody has made the system that how the Townscaper towns are stored is a known thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so somebody has made a Wordle to Townscaper converter that basically you can copy and paste your results from Wordle into this tool, and it will make a Townscaper world that's like a small little
representation of
a little
cute.
building that is a representation of how you did on that particular
Now, I want to see
thing.
more Wordle-esque things like this.
I hope there's a variant to this because I know that people will track their scores and their streaks and other things like that, and I think it'd be great is if there's a way to be like, I have Townscaper, I want to use this tool to follow my Twitter, and every time I post a Wordle result, I want to add more houses to my city that are based on the same design.
Right.
And use that to kind of build a town that's
So
based on
eventually
all your results.
Eventually you have... See, I feel like depending on who you... Now, that what would be interesting is depending on who you follow,
Mm-hmm.
your town might have a lot of, like, lifted buildings
Yeah.
with empty space at the bottom.
Yeah.
Or... if you follow a lot of people who aren't very good at the game, you might have a lot of very tall buildings.
Yeah, with a lot of holes in them, and it's just gonna, you know.
Some buildings just don't finish. There's just
mean,
like no way. There's just
Yeah.
no end.
I've had a couple of games where the first two lines that I try have no letters in them that are even remotely correct. And that's scary when you get to line 3 and you're like, I haven't guessed anything that even gives me a clue.
That's
So
worrying.
that house is going to be shorter.
Yeah, yeah. Doop, 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 doop. Now, did you talk?
It did not make it to the show.
That did not make it into the show.
No.
You know more about this than I do.
I do.
Yeah. What's your what's the info about this?
Okay, who out there in Chatland knows who Shohei Ohtani is? Hands up. Great. He's a pitcher for the California Angels, and
I saw
pitchers.
some hands.
Yeah, pitchers naturally tend to not be batters because baseball, like a lot of modern sports, are all about being good at one thing.
Pitchers tend not to be batters. This
Yeah.
is the kind of deep analysis you
Yeah.
come to
They
CheckPoint
throw
for.
the ball,
Yeah.
they don't hit it.
Well, pitchers will end up in the lineup because they have to. Is that
Sure.
if you're going to play on the defensive side, then you have to play on the offensive side as well.
I
That's
didn't
just how
say
this
they
works.
didn't get a bat. I said
Yeah.
they don't hit the ball.
Yeah, and they don't. That's the thing is that pitchers notoriously are poor batters. Shohei Ohtani, on the other hand, is a really good pitcher, and is also a really good batter, and has been just crushing home runs one after the other since like in the last couple of years, to the point where it's gotten a lot of people's attention. There's a lot of MLB highlights and stuff that get out there. So MLB The Show 22 is celebrating Shohei Ohtani because he's a runaway star at this point by giving him his own cover of the game.
Is he's just the cover of, like, they choose a
They
star every
choose
year.
every
so-
year. Like, it's just like with Madden and all those other games.
Right.
That you always pick somebody, and so MLB The Show 22, Shohei Ohtani is now on the cover. But to have a little more fun, they are doing a variant cover, a manga themed cover that only comes on certain special editions, on the MVP edition and the Digital Deluxe edition, and it looks so cool. It's drawn by the artist who did Afro Samurai, which is a show I don't really care one way or the other about. I know a lot of people really have seen it, like they enjoy it. It's not something that was my interest, but I love this, that they're like, oh, we're gonna do this, and I hope that in a way that this also is like Flashpoint for them doing more of these kind of things, and for the devs doing more of this kind of stuff, that they name somebody who's like from Puerto Rico or like somebody who's like from some other country to be like, what can we do to highlight part of that country's culture around them as well, right?
And I dig that. I guess theoretically, this was done in collaboration with the guy who's actually on the cover. Like,
Yeah.
I get the impression that usually the star doesn't actually have a lot of input into
Yeah.
how they're being shown on, the cover of a video game or a baseball card or whatever,
basically-
all the
get-
various
yeah.
places where your likeness is,
They go take photos of them while they're doing stuff, and then it's like, okay, that's the photo we're going to use.
because their
That's it.
likeness is like owned by MLB or whatever.
Yeah, they're part
right?
of the MLBPA, and so it's like the MLBPA is probably negotiating and stuff on behalf of that. And so for them to say, you know what, this dude's a big deal, and he's native Japanese, if I understand correctly. So he's not Japanese American, like American born Japanese or anything. And yeah, they're like, well, let's do something real fun and different. And so now you
Yep.
can buy a. I think it's super cool that it's like, let's do something a little different.
And if you've seen any sports anime, yeah, they all look like that.
Yeah,
Fire. It's just the most intense things about ping pong.
he's definitely the
It's
hero. Like you
weird.
can tell he's the hero
Oh,
of this
yeah.
manga. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, fun little story.
Sports anime is odd and very thrilling.
You should go, and seriously, you should go watch a couple of highlights of him doing stuff, because they're just watching this guy hit home runs is kind of like, oh man, that's unexpected. Which is weird because people hit home runs in baseball, but
people were saying that he plays in the American League, which he doesn't actually need to be up at
no,
bat.
exactly, because they have designated hitter rule that
Yeah.
that they can say we don't have to put a pitcher in, we can put the DH in instead. He's born in Iwate. Oh man, I would hear nothing. We have friends who live in Iwate. So I bet you they're like, oh, Tani! Like, there's just probably huge California Angels fans over there. That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. We have anything else?
And there's one other story that I actually just added this morning.
Okay.
So
So we kind of missed the show.
yes,
That's okay.
but this won't be because this happened basically during CheckPoint yesterday. So we probably won't have a chance to talk about it next week. And Star Citizen. We've been talking a lot about
About people buying digital objects?
well, we've talked a lot today about people buying digital objects and
And physical companies.
physical or people buying things and timelines, and the people, the companies
Oh, yeah.
showing their roadmaps. So Star Citizen has been having a problem because
Speaking of roadmaps.
yeah, so we did a story long time ago now where Star Citizen announced they basically had a roadmap for the roadmap where they were like
Oh, yeah. That
they
was
were
a good
like
one.
here's the plan for our new exciting new roadmap, which they implemented. I think there were some delays, but they got it out. Their new exciting new roadmap that showed all the exciting things that are going to be happening in Star Citizen coming up. But the problem with the roadmap is that no matter how many disclaimers you have on the roadmap, people will be like, so where's the thing that you said was going to be coming out in, we're now here in,
Yeah.
in
I promised you.
we're
Even
now
without,
here.
even without putting out a date, people will ask that.
It's
Yeah.
Q1 2022, and your roadmap says this should be here by now.
Yeah, so where is it?
Yeah.
Even though the roadmap is like, this is tentative, this, stuff changes,
It doesn't
blah, blah,
matter.
blah, blah. And so that's been obvious, and obviously Star Citizen is a game where that's been a problem. They keep a combination of things being delayed and also ambition on the part of the game. It's sort of like stuff has been delayed and then stuff has been added. So it's hard to tell which has contributed more to the problem. But whatever the case is, they're in a position where they're not sometimes they're not delivering things when they said they're going to. And apparently that's become a distraction, or what's become a distraction to the internal team is the amount of vitriol they've been getting from people who
See these dates as
they see
definite
the
commitments.
dates. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And so they've decided to they're going to keep their basically they've got two different timelines. They've got a thing of what they're working on, what each team is working on now. It's almost like a Trello board
Okay.
where it's
all
just
right,
like
sure.
these are all the teams and these are the things that they're working on.
These are public.
Yes. And they used to also have these are when all these things are going to be released. That they're cutting way back on,
Okay.
so that the list of things when they're going to be released is only like for this quarter. So it's only stuff that they know. They're all the stuff like the sort of down the line stuff. They're just totally nixing. They're saying it'll be out when it's out.
It's just a list now. It's like, here's some things we're thinking about doing.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
And so this is kind of, there's been a lot of controversy about this because being very transparent about their development process was kind of one of their big things.
Yeah.
Also, the article where they're talking about this is like the blog post, because they do these like I think monthly or every other month like timeline updates posts.
Okay.
And the post where they talked about this gets a little it's complaining about that people are getting mad at them for all this stuff, right? And so you're kind of putting the blame on the
Customers
the-
who paid for a thing?
well, you're putting the blame not only on the customers, but the customers who are like the most enfranchised, excited.
The ones who are watching your every move.
the ones that are, and
Who
the
are
ones that
super
are like,
invested.
for instance, all over the subreddit.
Yeah.
The ones that are in evangelizing it to everybody else. Like those are the people who are the ones who are really paying close attention to your stuff, and those are the people who you said are being toxic and not. So
I mean, might not be a lie.
so I mean.
You can be both.
And of course, in a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy, of course, doing this kind of makes the community
More angry.
angry, which justifies doing this in the first place,
Well,
which is a little
I
tricky.
wouldn't say
That's a tricky
justify.
one, yeah.
But it's seen as justification, even though it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that's there's the Reddit, the subreddit for Star Citizen is obviously a bit of a shit show, especially at the moment. But and there's a lot of like defense being like, it's ironic how this thread is exactly proving what they're saying, and then people being like, that's not ironic. That's not
yeah, I
ironic.
get a lot of that too.
Being mad that they're blaming us for the thing. That's
Yeah.
just
It's not.
them
It's
not
the
doing
opposite
what,
of irony.
yeah, that's not ironic. That's what this
It's
is.
okay,
Just
most people don't know
being
what
mad at
irony
it.
means
You know,
anymore anyway.
It's certainly the definition of the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And it's like, for Star Citizen to be like, we're upset that people are angry and it's actually impacting our ability to get work done, and they need to stop being angry. And it's like, I think you just have an easier time, dude, if you're just like, just go into the subreddit and just go, calm down! Because that'll get you what you want.
So, like, I do agree that there's a certain amount of, like, transparency that can be really good to show off and say, hey, you're working on a thing, you're doing whatever. It's really good for, like, especially if you want to, like, work with your community and whatnot. You should have a community manager who's separate from all that, really. But at the same time, having too much transparency that's like, let me show you every single thing and thought I'm having, is also a great way for everyone to always just be mad that you're not doing a thing that you were thinking about doing.
Yeah.
I love some of these quotes here. This is from the blog post that they posted. It has become abundantly clear to us that despite our best efforts to communicate the fluidity of development and how features marked as tentative should not sincerely be relied on. The general focus of many of our most passionate players. If you ever see a game developer be like, our players are so passionate.
Yeah.
Yeah, passionate is not a word I really
code.
like as a descriptor.
That's game developer code for have been harassing us.
Yes.
It's the polite way to say it.
Many of our more passionate players have continued to lead. The general focus of many of our most passionate players have continued to lead them to interpret anything on the release view as a promise. We want to acknowledge that not all of you saw it that way. Many of you took our new focus and our words to heart and understood exactly what we were trying to convey. But there still remains a very loud contingent of roadmap watchers who see projections as promises. And their continued noise every time we shift deliverables has become a distraction both internally at CIG and within our community, as well as to prospective Star Citizen fans watching from the sidelines at our open development communications. The prospective Star Citizens fans watching for the sidelines is interesting too. That would be us. I think that's what they mean.
Because we're paying attention.
Roadmap Watchers sounds like a reality TV show.
Anybody who hasn't currently bought Star Citizen is a prospective Star Citizen fan.
Yeah.
Presumably.
People who have heard of it but haven't bought it yet.
Roadmap
Anyway.
Watchers. Can we
Um,
make that show? I don't know what it would be about, but I really like the name.
so anyway, they basically reiterated it in a few different ways. But the general thing being, going forward, we will only add cards to release view 1 quarter out, so 3 months.
Weird.
I mean, personally, that's. I mean, I don't play Star Citizen, so I don't care about that. But I like only knowing about stuff about that far ahead of time.
Yeah, because it's
In a lot of ways, because I get bored waiting.
But it's also the most reliable information, right? Because it's like
would hope so.
It's a small chunk of here's what we know is coming up in 3 months. And it's like that's fine because we know that can be relied upon.
I mean, I think it's an issue, one of those things of like managing expectations, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like if you are a developer who has fostered a community that, you know, when you say it'll be done when it's done, like, and that's sort of where you've been with your community,
Yeah.
then they'll take something like, whereas if you're a developer who has been for 5 years or however long they've been working on this stuff, been very vocal about your transparency and really pushing this whole roadmap timeline thing, it's understandable that, you know, that your audience feels a sense of entitlement to that,
Yeah.
because that's sort of what you have been expressing as a good thing.
It's potentially what you've been fostering.
Yeah.
That's why I ask if they have an actual dedicated community manager, because
I mean, I'm sure they must.
Yeah, they probably have a
really
few.
should.
They have $433 million. Probably.
I mean, you'd think,
Yeah.
but a lot of places end up getting community managers later because they don't think about it.
Yeah.
To be honest, I have no idea. Presumably, they have some sort of community manager.
I would just hope that it's not something that the devs themselves have to do, because like that's
Mr. Roberts.
something you kind of gotta. You want a little bit of separation from when you're at that level.
Anyway, so that was the last story I have here. Longish episode today, but no Friday Night Paper Fight tonight. So,
Yeah.
and the reason why there's no Friday Night Paper Fight tonight is because if I have the right mouse, I can tell you that it's Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Dynasty. Yes.
Yes.
I said Destiny incorrectly before.
Ooh.
It's not Neon Dynasty.
And I like to say dynasty, but that's not how you're supposed to say it.
I think it's like just a regional pronunciation. thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just like to say it to be contrary. Or contrary.
Neon Density.
Available to you tomorrow, starting
starting at 11 o'clock. And going until we're done.
Mhm.
Probably until the evening.
Very exciting.
Some very pretty new lands.
Yeah, it's the whole set looks super super sweet, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. We have some great stuff lined up for you. And then on Sunday morning, I'm back with more Immortals Phoenix Rising, which continues to be super fun and quite silly, but yeah, it's been going quite well. I'm currently working for Athena, who's got turned into a child, which is, to be honest, better than what Aphrodite got turned into a tree.
But what a tree! Holy shit! Check out the burls on that one.
Ares got turned into a chicken.
Don't need to know about your deep roots.
Hephaestus got turned into a robot. And Athena got turned into a little girl.
Huh.
And so, but it's been super fun, and I've been to the extent that I've actually been playing a little bit off stream, doing a little bit of the like clearing up, chests and stuff. Non-plot related things.
That's a feat, honestly. If you're doing 3 times a week, play it forward, having time to do extra off stream.
I just, it's not a lot. It's just like when it's like, maybe I'll go collect some chests. So
Yeah.
I've been greatly enjoying that.
Helping us fill out that Sunday schedule too.
Speaking of which, Demo. This is their second or third week of Demo.
This will be our 4th because we
Oh, wow.
play Demo so spread out in between other games. I think originally Ian and I thought this would be a game where there's just going to be a lot of music and we'll go through it and then we'll be done. We didn't realize it was like puzzle walk around.
It's made by the people who made Citus, so it's kind of like, because Citus is all just, there's a bunch of stuff to read, but it's mostly just play a game.
Sure.
So there's a lot of puzzle stuff between the rhythm stuff.
There is a map. We go into different rooms. We haven't accessed like 6 of the rooms yet because there's puzzles. We got very excited last time because we had a skeleton hand that we stuck into a bust, and we played rock paper scissors against it, and then we opened a wall and we found a basement that we got to flood.
And there's still rhythm in this.
And yeah, you play piano. That's where the rhythm parts are.
Cool.
And Ian solved some really neat music puzzles.
Yeah, especially like considering most rhythm games are like, here's a list of songs, go to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, yes, we're being stalked by a stuffed cat, and the little girl hasn't figured that out yet. She just keeps finding it, and she's just like, I know what you're doing here, and I'm like, oh, ghosts.
Wow.
Oh, and I can't tell if that's a good thing or not. We turned into Let's Note briefly with the skeleton hand and stuff.
Well, tell you what is a good thing. Inscription.
You want another scary game? Let me tell you.
Wheeler is going to be playing Inscription on Is This Your Card? Which has been getting a lot of buzz lately.
It's made by the same person who made Pony Island.
Ah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Which is a game about playing a computer game where you're stuck with the devil or something.
Yeah.
Inscription is a different kind of creepy.
Yeah. So he will not have time to squee about Kamigawa cards on Inscription. Though he'll probably do it anyway.
You'll find it if he wants it.
And then on Monday, more Immortals Phoenix Rising in the morning. That's so Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday is when I'm playing that. And then the Can't Draw Horses Club on Monday afternoon, followed by a little Halo Infinite on Crossing the Streams.
Good.
We've played that a couple times on Crossing the Streams now, and everybody seems to really enjoy it. Let's thank some of the awesome people who subscribed during this stream.
You might need the...
Should make this go away. Kusinoki, gifted by Gap Filler. Thank you very much.
Shabe X Rock is a brand new sub. Welcome to the channel, Shabe.
Shep DM, thank you for those 5 gift subs.
Horace 5 for 39 months. Thank you very much.
And Arakel for, I'm going to say 86, because I can't quite read it from here.
Elevation 4,000 feet for that 60-month anniversary.
MTG Bot, gifted by Thraxamore.
Couldn't pick a username returns for 62 months.
Yes.
Great, thank you again.
John and Wherever for that 1 month resub. Welcome back.
Dromos GHG for 52 months. That's like weeks of months.
And Drosvin gave a subscription to somebody who knows who. Oh, it's top of the morning dew. Anyway.
And the 12/1300 bits.
Welcome, Sniping of the Bits.
Time Machine Guy, Ferrobender, and Gap Filler. Thank y'all very, very much.
Also, thank you to the last few people who got us over 100,000 followers.
Yeah.
And we are comfortably in the 4,000 sub area as well. And it's nice being comfortable.
It's true. It's true.
We appreciate all of you, including the people who've just been lurking around listening to us talk nonsense for the last 2 hours.
But it's
I especially appreciate you.
It is a really, really cool milestone to hit, to have 100,000 followers.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, I want you to go into the comment section right now and tell me your favorite color.
Oh, God.
What? I want to read something nice in the comments section.
For
I mean,
once,
they're pretty good most of the time, but I just think that would be a fun thing. I've decided to ask you questions now. You can also comment in the chat if you're currently on Twitch. That is okay.
Just nice things. My favorite color is Screaming Child Red.
Don't listen to Beach. Please. Make my life nice.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And we will see all y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.